Okay, students. So now that we've loaded our data into our we've loaded our CSV. Excuse me. We've viewed the data. We've looked at the first five rows. We've checked the number of rows, the column names. The next step is we need to make sure all the column names are lowercase, which we already did. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to start doing our data cleanup. So for our variables, we need to convert those. Remember we saw when we ran our, oh, excuse me. Remember we saw when we ran our file, all these character variables. So we're going to need to decide, first of all, what our exposure and what our outcome variables are. Okay. And we also need to clean up these character variables. So we open ChatGPT and we can say in R, I need a dplyr. So we're converting all character variables to analyzable factors. So that's what we really want. Now, the other thing is in R, we have all these libraries here, all these packages. I want you to make sure you have the dplyr packages installed. So we'll say here, comment, install packages. And the way you install packages, you can just press this install button. You can search. So we want dplyr right here. Click it, press install. I've already installed it on my computer, so it's there. Now to activate it, you just type library dplyr, and that will activate that. So here we go. So um, so ChatGPT gives us the basic notation for all of them actually. So we can copy and paste. Now we switch df with our data frame, which is dat. Now the important thing is we're going to make one called dat2. So R will overwrite the last file. So we have dat, but we don't want to overwrite and cause like a file error. So we just up the number to dat2. This is saying change anything if it's a character to a factor. Okay, so we're going to run that. Oh, we're getting an error. So the data has duplicate column names. Okay, so we need to detect our duplicate column names first. So this is part of data cleaning. Okay, we load in every data set is going to have its own particularities. So we can use this code here, this duplicate columns code, to detect if there's duplicate columns. Okay, and we change it to dat, our data frame. Okay. So it tells us right away, we can see here the values. There's a duplicated column for the word position. Okay. So if we go call names dat, we should be able to see two position titles somewhere here. So let's see if we can find it. Position. I'm not sure. Do I see it twice? Let me just copy and paste and we can search. Position in spot 11 and then position in spot 20. So there you go. So there's an example. This is great because it shows you an example of the real world of data. This is a posted data set and there's an error in it. And clinicians, companies will constantly have data errors that only the analyst will find. So expect the unexpected. And part of this course is going to be able to teach you how to debug those errors. So I started by trying to convert all all character variables factor. I ended up with an error. So we can see problem with evaluating caused by error. It tells me the data must be uniquely named but has a duplicate column. I asked ChatGPT for the names of the duplicate columns. I ran the code. I found that the position column is duplicated. So now the question is, which is the correct column, or are they the same? Okay. So how do we do that? We can look at so we know we checked position 11 and position 18. So we can say so we want a new data frame with only the two duplicated columns. Okay. So we're just going to run this separate line of code, the df duplicates, and we're going to say dat. We're going to take all the duplicated columns only. Okay. And now we can just view the duplicates. Okay. And position RB, I would say we should take the first column. So what we do is, again, I don't quickly know how to answer every single data analysis question, but as we progress through the steps and breaking it down into usable chunks, plus the AI will actually help you become quite a competent data analyst. Okay, so for example, this code didn't really work. This df duplicate select all the duplicate columns didn't work because we should see two duplicate columns, but it didn't work. So we're going to say now we're only going to keep the unique columns, and we're going to call that dat2. We're going to move this piece of code down. So first we take a data set called dat2 with only the unique columns. So we say in R, the exclamation mark means is not. So it's not duplicated from the names of the dat data set. We're going to run that. And now we're going to say a new data set called dat3. We're going to mutate all the character variables to factors. Okay, so now this should run without error. And it does. Great. So we see no errors here. Now let's do a summary command on our dat3. Now we shouldn't see any character variables anymore. Okay. And there we go. See, we see no character variables, Yahoo ID, nothing that says character. These have all become factors now. See that? Position, all factors, all NAs, and then look, here are all the factors, right? Okay. Yes, no, NAs started. See that? Total snaps. Okay. Great. So the next step here, now what we want to do is we want to remove all spaces. See how there's spaces in these team names? We want to remove all spaces. We want to remove all capital letters now, okay? So we want to convert all capital letters in data frame to lowercase and remove all spaces. Now the reason is because when we have these capital letters, it's really going to mess up our search functions. And also see the yes, no. The yes, no will also be pretty not good as well. And we also want to remove any punctuation and special characters. So similar to our data naming principles, in a data frame, we only want to see Oh, actually, before we do this, let's not do that first. Let's just remove the letters first. So here we go. We're going to copy and paste. So we're going to make all capitals lowercase and remove all spaces. Okay, so we're going to substitute that 3 for our df, right? G sub is like a string search. It's saying any spaces or middle space replace with any space, replace with no space, and anything taller means to lowercase. So we run that. Now, when we run our summary, just to check to make sure it's working, if we see, oh, we still see capital letters, Alabama. We still see capital letters. So something is not, see, no, yes. Still see capital letters. So we can go into we can go into ChatGPT and tell it, we can just tell it doesn't have, it still has capital letters. Now, the other thing that we want to do right off the bat is we want to convert our dates. So birth date, for example, I'll make a separate file on that. So we won't start with that because date conversion is actually a whole separate thing. But in R, I'll show you date conversion as well. Let's try. So ChatGPT, we told it didn't work. We're going to try this command. This looks a bit better. And I think the issue here was the names and that the variables were characters. So this factor as characters. So let's try that. That looks like it'll run. Oh. Or actually, before we convert it to factor, we may need to just run this. I think that may work. But let's go before, before here. So let's go dat2 and we'll try it again. We'll just run. Now remember in R, your prior run overloads your previous run. So when I run that again, it is overlapping. It's overwriting. So I can just run it from the top. And now we're going to see if that works. So let's try summary dat2. It's still character, so we're going to have to convert it to factor to see if it worked. And we're going to go summary dat3. And let's check one variable that we know has a capital letter problem. Let's check position. And it's still giving us capital letters. So we may need to, yeah, we're going to try a different function. Let's try this one. So sometimes this happens that, again, ChatGPT heavily flawed. So this is part of data analysis is to really understand the errors and to check. Can I complete the column? So in R, there's different packages. So there's base, and then there's other packages like dplyr. So sometimes dplyr doesn't work, so we can try a base solution to it. So this looks better. I think this looks like a better function. But we'll try again. We have to replace with dat2. And we'll try. Yeah. That's dat3. And then what we can do is we can copy and paste the error into ChatGPT and it will start to debug. So this is not working. Okay. So why is this happening? Like what error are we getting here? It's because there's something in the data set, like some way that they've encoded the data set is non-standard. So again, this is what happens in usual practice. The data can become non-standard or people have manipulated it in ways that you haven't anticipated. So you have to be able to debug in this way. So now ChatGPT's debugged it. Let's see if it's working. I hope it's working now. Dollar. So in R, when you type in the dollar sign, so if you type in data set, dollar, variable, that tells you what variable to select. So we're only getting a summary now of the position, and it's still staying as a character. Dat2 to dat3. So we're going to go dat3 to dat4. We'll change this to dat4. Excellent. Now we have lowercase. So I hope this has served to demonstrate to you kind of what data analysis is about. There's not really a golden pathway or perfect way to do things. We're just trying to go through logically, step by step, document what we're doing, and also make sure that the data pathway is working. So I had no idea that this would be needed to convert things to lowercase, but that's kind of why you have to have the GPT open and your console open and be flexible to solve a problem as they come up. Okay, so now we have DAT4. I'll be posting this R code as well for you, so don't feel like you have to memorize how to actually type it. I'll be posting this data setting code for you. Okay, so now we can do a summary. So now we see all the data is in lowercase, right? Great. And our what else do we have? So I think now our data, the characters have been converted to factors. We can see our summary from data 4. The characters have been converted to factors. Okay. And oh, we're still not missing our spaces. So let's try and go back. We want to remove our spaces as well. So let's just scroll back. Our spaces and yeah, there it is. So this should also work now too, believe it or not. So let's just plug that in. And now we'll check again here. We'll check summary and the team name was showing spaces. So we'll check team. It looks like it's still not working. Yeah, it's still the team name has a space. Yeah, this should work. So we'll put it here. We delete what doesn't work. We'll go dat4. We'll make dat5 now. Just to show you what's happening. Oh. Yes, we need to make this the same name because this is just a function for its own file. So dat4, we'll check team name again. $team. And it looks like, there we go. There we go. Now the team names the space have been removed. Okay, so I'll leave it there for now. The next step, so we're going to have to pick our exposure and our outcome variables. So for your course, I want you to pick 2 exposures and 2 outcome variables. Try and let's try it first with 1. So pick 1 continuous exposure and 1 continuous outcome variable that we'll use to make graphs. So an exposure variable is also called an X variable, and an outcome variable is called a Y variable. I'll post a separate video shortly just explaining to you how to pick an X and a Y variable. There's also going to be a discussion post on that, so make sure you answer the discussion post with your selected exposure and outcome variables, and just read that before the weekend. I will send in another video showing how to select it, and I'll post this code for you to use. Thank you.